Hi, I'm Debbie Daly. Welcome to this practice of yoga for the core. We'll start out with Vinyasa and then we'll move into Yin. So this is a yin-yang mix that includes some balancing postures. So sitting on the heels, let the hands rest in the lap, close the eyes. We'll take just a few moments to breathe before we start moving. 3 breaths in and out with your spine tall, with your tailbone sinking down. Taking the breath in to fill the lungs, to fill the lower back, to fill the belly. Exhaling down. And inhale. And exhale down. One more breath. Soften the shoulders, soften the face, soften the tops of the feet against the ground. And let the eyes open up. So coming into a side bend, taking your left hand to the ground, your right arm up and over, and stretching over to the side. And play around here with your angles. Maybe your nose comes toward the ground more, maybe your nose comes up toward the sky. Maybe this hand on the ground wants to walk out farther or come closer in. And if this position sitting on the heels doesn't work for you, if it hurts your knees or anything, then sit on a block or sit cross legs. Good. Inhaling, come back up to the center and right over to the other side. Right hand on the ground, left arm up and over. And finding the different stretches where your head turns different ways and maybe settling on one that feels just right for today. Breathing into it, breathing into the side of the neck, the side of the ribs, the side of the waist. Very good. Inhaling all the way back up. And now coming into child's pose, stretching the arms out in front of you. Make this a wide knee child's pose. And lifting up from your child's pose a little bit to take your hands over toward the left side. So right hand on top of the left and a nice side bend into the side of the torso, into the sides of the waist. It's like you're pulling back with this right hip. Good. Bring it back up to the center and walk the hands over to the other side. Left hand on top of the right. Pulling back through the left armpit and back and down into the crease of the left hip. And walking the hands back to the center. Walk them in to come upright. Sitting on the heels once again. And take your chin down to your chest with your spine up nice and tall and let your arms rest down at your sides. And roll the head around to the right and all the way back and over to the left side and forward, and keep on going nice and slow like this in the same direction. 2 more times. You might enjoy opening the knees a little bit just to keep your body more stable, resting the hands on the thighs or keeping them down on the ground. Once more all the way around, and then we'll do it 3 times going the other direction. Left ear toward the left shoulder, all the way around. All right, chin resting down at the chest now, and roll the head back up on top of the spine, climbing into downward facing dog, facing this side of your mat so that we are facing the same direction. And downward dog, walk the legs, bending one knee at a time. Press the opposite heel on the ground as you bend the knee. And bring the legs back to center. Bend the knees a little bit, lift your sitting bones way up into the sky. And now as you exhale, shift your shoulders forward over your wrists into a plank pose. Good, and now we'll do these little plank pose pulses, so really micro pulsing in a push-up, but just not going down very far. So you can definitely do this with your knees down and still get quite a good action in the arms and shoulders. If you want to challenge yourself more, you'll do this with the straight legs. So 3 pulses, and then just lower yourself all the way down onto your belly. Lift up into cobra pose. Press into the hands. You come up as much as feels right to you. We're going to do this 3 times with the breath. So here's number 1. Exhale down. Inhale up, number 2. Exhale back down. And inhale up 3rd time. Exhale all the way back down and right into child's pose. 3 breaths in child's pose. And coming up, hands and knees, tuck the toes, downward dog. Good, and downward dog, lift your right leg up and back behind you. And now finding that dragon tail pose, which is just kind of a back bending version of this. Lift your head up, bend the foot so that the heel is pretending like it's going to touch the base of your skull or the back of your skull. And now take a big step forward into a lunge. Drop the back knee down onto the ground, untuck the back toes, and sweep your arms up over your head and keep on going so they come out into the dragon wings. Lift your gaze up, and now let the hands continue their descent to come to clasp behind your back. Open up your chest. Inhale your breath here. And as you exhale, release the hands. Take them down to the ground on either side of your foot. Step back into plank pose. And your 3 push-ups, the knees can be down again or they can stay up. So just a little pulsing, 2 and 3. And now all the way down and into locust pose. Arms come to the sides. Lift your legs up, lift your chest up, and find some movement here. Side to side, rolling on your torso. And see if you can find some movement in your hands and your fingers too. Circling the wrists, maybe spreading the toes out, spreading the fingers out. Good, now release. Just turn your head one way, relax your body down, and soften. Feel your breath. And now coming up into that locust pose again, or the version with the hands clasped behind the back. So this way, or arms at either side. Lift the legs up. And once again, finding your movement, whatever kind of movements you can find here, so that you're squeezing into all these little muscles of the back. Lower back, middle back, upper back, between the shoulder blades. And take it a little bit higher now for 1 sec. And exhale, release down. Turn your head the other way. And rest. Maybe give your booty a little wiggle side to side. And coming back up. And now your choice to do one of those first 2 versions or take it into this bow pose, bending the knees, reaching back to hold either the ankles or the tops of the feet. And lifting up, kick back into the legs, or taking one of those first 2 locust pose versions. And guess what? We're going to move it around again, which is, if you're doing the bow, a little more tricky. And maybe you're going to start having some fun with it by rolling all the way to one side, which is what I always want to do here. All the way to one side and then the other. All right, maybe a couple more times of this. Excellent. Bring it back to the center and rest hips up and back into child's pose. And coming up into hands and knees. And tuck the back toes, and we still have that second side to do. Taking the left leg up and back behind you into dragon tail pose. So lifting the head, finding that back bend as you bend the back leg, and it's like you're trying to meet the skull back to the heel back to the skull. Find the back bend, and as you exhale, take it forward into the lunge with the back knee down. Untuck the back toes, sweep the arms up over the head. And let them continue out into the dragon wings. And continuing all the way back to clasp behind your back. Or if this doesn't feel good or doesn't work for your shoulders, hands on the hips instead. Inhale. And release the hands to exhale onto the ground. Great, tuck the back toes, step back into plank pose. And inhale the breath. Here's your 3 pulses. Knees can come down or they can stay up. 1, 2, and 3. All the way onto the belly. 1 little cobra pose here, and exhale back into child's pose. Resting, 3 breaths. Good, coming up, hands and knees, tuck the toes, downward facing dog. And from your downward dog, walk your hands back towards your feet, hanging in Uttanasana, forward bend. And go ahead and hold opposite elbows. Let your arms come up near your ears. Let the head go completely. Bend the knees as much as you'd like to here so that you can just kind of gauge the stretch in your hamstrings by how much you're bending your knees. And release your arms down. Now bend your knees, sinking your booty toward the ground, and reach your arms forward and up into an Utkatasana pose. Good. And now I've got my feet close hips width apart, just a few inches between the feet. If you like to do your Utkatasana with your feet together, we're moving into a twist if you want to know where we're going. So some people like to have the feet closer together, or they can be about hips width. We'll take the arms back right now, sweep them back into this flying dragon pose. Or no, this is just called into this dragonfly pose is what it's called. Which is not the same as the yin dragonfly, of course. So strong in the spine here. Feeling a back bend. And go ahead and wiggle your fingers. These are your wings back behind you. And find a little movement like you're the dragonfly flying. And how about some lion's breath? So inhale and good. And now taking it into a twist. So your right elbow comes across your left knee, turn to your left, twisting palms together on your left side. Sink your booty down a little more if you can. Great, releasing, come into Uttanasana, hang over the legs. And back into Utkatasana pose, sweep the arms up over the head. Chair pose. And now sweep the arms back into the dragonfly pose. So your torso is more front and back. Find that back bend. Sink the hips as much as you can comfortably and reach the arms back. And taking that lion's breath. So nice big inhale and fly as you exhale. Great, and now into your twist. So left elbow across the knee, right hand comes around into the side twist. And enjoy. And releasing, come back around into your Uttanasana forward bend, hanging and holding opposite elbows. Shake the head, turn the head side to side to release the neck. Great, and now release the hands to the ground and walk forward into downward dog. And now from downward dog, lift your right leg up and back behind you. And now open up the hip as you bend the knee. So the knee points out to the side. And we'll do this kind of S curve or an infinity shape by taking this knee in, cross it over like you're trying to get it toward your left armpit, and then change to bring it toward the right armpit and keep it externally rotated as you reach it back in the air. 2 more of those. Bend the knee, diagonal so it's going toward the left armpit and over to the right, and lift it up and back. Straight, and then 1 more time, bend the knee toward the left armpit, toward the right, and all the way back. Excellent. Step it forward. Warrior 1 pose. Drop the back heel. Sweep the arms up over the head. And now take the hands behind the back and clasp them behind the back or have them on your hips. We're moving toward a Warrior 3. So stepping the back leg in, Warrior 3 in the Yang Yoga world is called Flying Dragon pose. So here's our mellow version of it, taking the weight onto the right leg and just lifting the back leg off the ground. And this might be your balance here. Or if you want to take it a step farther, lift the leg higher. Hands perhaps are clasped. Maybe the arms come separated. It's really up to you what the arms do. Find a little movement here in your Warrior 3 and your Flying Dragon pose. Find the back bend in it. Excellent. And now taking both hands to the ground, and this is where you might want to have that block under the hands. We're moving it toward a half moon pose. So the right hand will stay on the ground and the left hand comes up to the hip. So right hand can always have that block support if you wish. Left hand on the hip and start to open it out to the side. If at any point the balance is too much for you, both hands can stay on the ground here, or you can just keep your gaze on the ground and left hand on the hip. If you're comfortable enough to open it up, maybe you're going to take this left arm up into the air. Great. Some of you may be bending the knee of that back foot, reaching back for the bind. And now into the standing split, which for most of us doesn't really look like a split at all, and that's totally fine. Just the thought of lifting this back leg way up there into the air, into the stratosphere. All right, now coming down. Bend the left knee, take it down to the outside of the right foot and sit, moving toward shoelace or square pose. So right knee is on top. Shoelace pose, the 2 knees are right on top of each other. Square pose works a lot better for some people, and the knee is on top of the foot or something like that. Option here to have both feet on the ground, which if it hurts your knees in any of those variations or just feels impossible somehow, then try this variation. In all the variations, we're going for this stretch of the right buttock. So 2 minutes here, moving into our first yin posture of the practice. I always end up in the shoelace. My body just likes it the most. It doesn't mean it's the best choice. It's really a different experience for everybody. So choose the one that gives you the best stretch in this area. And releasing, coming up and taking it into a lunge with the right foot on the ground, left leg is stepping back. And take a step back now into plank pose, inhaling the breath here, and coming down with or without the knees into a chaturanga or all the way to the belly, and then up into cobra or upward facing dog. Inhale the breath, exhale to downward dog. Feel free to rest in child's pose anytime you'd like to. We're going to take the left leg up into that three-legged dog and find that S-curve again, bending the knee, taking it in toward the right armpit, and then veering over to the left. Keep the knee out as you bring the leg way up. Again, bend the knee, take it over to the right armpit, swerve to the left, open it up and out. So stirring the hip socket one more time here. Bring it in, open it out, send it up and back, and take your big step forward, finding a warrior three, back heel is down, lifting up arms, sweep up over the head. And take the hands behind the back, clasping the hands. Inhale the breath. Again, hands can be on the hips instead. As we take it forward, hinging at the hips, step the back leg in as much as you need to and start to bring the balance onto your left leg. Right leg lifts up maybe just a couple inches. Maybe you're staying right here to help keep yourself feeling safe and stable. Maybe taking it into that more of a horizontal shape. Finding your movements, finding the arm position you like. You could keep that clasp, or if you feel like exploring with the arms, go for it. Squeeze the muscles between the back, between the shoulder blades. And now dropping the hands to the ground, maybe using your block for help as we move toward this half moon pose. Left hand on the ground or on the block. Right hand on the hip. And opening up to the side, perhaps the arm lifting up into the air, perhaps the gaze lifting up. And perhaps you're taking this top leg and bending it back, holding on to it. That's more advanced. Don't worry about that variation. I'm not really showing that one today. Good, let's take it back down now into that standing split pose, or that vision of oneself doing a standing split. Send the leg just as high as you can today. Bringing the chest toward the leg. Very good. Now let's bring it into the seated pose. Your right knee comes down on the floor on the outside of your left foot and sitting in the shoelace square or modified square. So once again, shoelace, left knee on top of the right, square, shins on top of each other, modified square, both feet on the ground. Adjusting as you need to so that you are feeling the stretch in the left buttocks this time. And always in these postures you have the option of veering the torso slightly to the right, slightly to the left, if that places the stretch where we want it to be. And slowly releasing, come all the way up, unwind your legs, take them out in front of you, come all the way down onto your back and hug your knees in towards your chest. We're not getting too relaxed just yet, but rest assured that is coming. For now, we're going to do a little bit of forward and back rolling. So you can pad your back. If your spine doesn't like this, you can modify it as you want to or skip it. Some people's spines love this and some very much dislike it. So the next 1 or 2 or 3 times we come up, we're going to balance in a boat pose. Ready? Here we go. Boat pose. And we're not too worried here about whether the legs are straight or bent. Do what feels right. I want you to find some movement here. I call it the boat pose boogie. And so you can widen your legs, you can bring your hands inside of your legs, you can experiment with bringing your torso a little farther back to the ground, which can get quite challenging. Challenge your balance. Good. And now let's bring the knees in, roll forward and back another 3 or 5 times, something in there. You can roll without your hands to get a little more core working in it. 2 more times and then we balance up once again into the boat boogie. Ready? Here we go. Leaning back, leaning forward. All right, and now right into butterfly pose. Soles of your feet together. Relax forward. Use a pillow under your seat if you'd like. And releasing, coming back up. Take your hands behind you on the floor. Extend your legs out in front. Lift up into upward facing plank. Send the head back. Engage the glutes and the lower back to lift a little higher. Great. Exhale, lower your seat and come into caterpillar pose. Paschimottanasana. Release forward over your legs. You're welcome to widen the legs if that makes this easier on your body. And slowly release. Walk the hands up the legs, coming up and lower down all the way onto your back, coming into your final relaxation position. So please make yourself comfortable. Spread out the arms and legs as you wish. Add an eye pillow or extra clothing or a blanket if you so desire. Noticing what's happening here in the body after targeting the core of the body and many of the major muscle and fascia areas. The side bodies, the back body, the hamstrings, some back bends to target the front body, and lots of core work here with the balancing. So notice the energy in your body right now. And notice the feeling of your breath. And notice how the energy moves and shifts and settles slowly in its own time. And you can join me in coming up to sit or continue to rest for a while longer if you wish. And so if you're coming up, make your way slowly to sitting. Palms together in front of the heart, spine tall, chanting Om one time. Inhale. Namaste. I hope you enjoyed this practice. Thanks so much for joining me, and please hit the thumbs up if you liked this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my latest Yin Yoga video.